Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, let's go. Dude, I'm super excited about kicking off today's show because I get to be the guy who introduces you to the new nighttime host here on WBAP. However, if you are a just rabid talk radio fan, you've probably heard of this guy before. He's one of the top 10 hosts in the nation. Welcome to the family, Joe Pags.
James, how are you, man? I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
All right, so look, I've been in this business for a couple decades. I know who you are, but let's just assume the people listening, they're hearing you for the first time. You're, like I said, you're one of the top 10 hosts in the country. Where'd you start? How'd you get to this point? What's your backstory?
No, 35 years ago, I called a radio station out in Belglade, Florida, and I said, hey, man, I'd like to be on the radio. They said, yeah, right, whatever. But I ended up going out there making no money at all. I had my car repossessed and I kicked out of the apartment because I couldn't afford it. But that's how you start in radio. You go and you do anything you want to do, anything you can do to get on the air and show that you've got some, a little bit of something here. I did that for a long time. I moved up quickly, by the way. I didn't just have no car and no place to live. But I moved up pretty quickly and got into television news. Did that for 14 years, television news anchor, won a bunch of AP awards for journalism and everything else, and decided I wanted to have an opinion again and got back into talk radio probably, 2003 or 4, and been doing it ever since. So I do television and radio at the same time. And, of course, with all the live streaming that we've got online, we do a lot of that as well. But my background is I'm from New York originally, moved to Florida where I grew up. We ended up going to Michigan for television news. Then we went back to New York, and we've now been in the San Antonio area of the great state of Texas since, it'll be 20 years this year. It'll be 20 years. We came here in 2005.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons I think you're going to be such a good fit here at WBAP is you're in Texas. And it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on Texas news from a non-DFW perspective because you can kind of confirm what we suspect is going on across the state. And also how issues like illegal immigration and school choice, you're having to live through that with us at the same time. So I think that's a huge advantage for you here at WBAP.
Listen, first of all, when I found out that you guys were going to take a chance on me, I couldn't thank Bruce enough, and I already know about you. James, I think the James Show is amazing. I love being on the airwaves here because I've always had an affinity for Dallas. When you drive into Dallas, you feel really good about the city. The first night out, I couldn't help but talk about Luka Doncic and that whole thing. Oh, my God. What on earth are these people thinking with that? That's a huge national story. But you're bringing out, caskets now in front of the stadium, and people are sad. They're never going to be, Mavericks fans again. You lost 700,000 followers on social media overnight. So what happens in Dallas very often does affect everybody across the entire nation, but certainly here in Texas, we're more tuned in. School choice, that's a huge story for us here in Texas. The razor wire that we were fighting with Biden over, huge story in Texas. What Greg Abbott's doing, what Dan Patrick's doing, what the legislature's doing, which, by the way, it's dominated by Republicans. They keep letting Democrats make decisions. Very strange in the Texas legislature. We are tuned into what's going on in Texas, and we're so proud to be on WBAP now.
Let's talk about Joe Pags, the man. You're our new nighttime host here on WBAP. You're going to be on from 8 to midnight. But I remember a show you did years ago. I'm telling you, Joe, this may be like 7-8 years ago. Did you say you benched 400 pounds at some point?
505.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I knew it was something ridiculous like that. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, well, but I was 33. I mean, I'm 58 now, so I can't do it now. But, we can still rep out 315 pretty easily.
Good Lord.
I've been in the gym a long time. I tried to get myself in shape a long time ago. So, James, I've got two choices. Be a fat guy or be a guy who's got some muscle because I can't be skinny. That's just never going to happen. So I decided I should probably work out in the gym. But that was when I was like really hardcore, lived in Michigan, was a TV news anchor, and was lifting like an animal. Yeah, we did 505 for a rep, and then 455 for 3 reps after that. And then I never tried to top out again after. I thought that was enough.
Good. How tall are you?
6'1".
Oh, okay.
6'1", I go about 245, yeah.
All right, well, you got me beat. Let's talk about your cast. Who are some of the other voices we can expect to hear on your show?
Well, my daughter is my executive producer and my screener. Her name is Sam, and I also have Polo is my technical director, my TD, and I bring them in anytime I can. I had a news anchor for a long time, but she's dealing with a medical issue, so she stayed where we were before, and God bless her. But no, you'll hear all sorts of people all the time. The audio and the video all together, and of course what we put on the radio is going to be a combination of people that I've met over the last 35 years, like you. You go to the Rolodex and bring in voices that people know, and it just seems to work. We sort of do more of a fun, lighter morning show atmosphere when I'm not doing an interview, when it's not breaking news. So we try to bring humor in like you do. But we also do parody songs. I think I said Bye Bye Joe. I did a parody of Bye Bye Love to Joe Biden leaving on his last day. We're known for the parody stuff. I'm a musician at heart, so I do a lot of that stuff as well. But yeah, the cast of characters, you'll get to know them if you listen from 8 to midnight here in WBAP. And hopefully you'll like them. And again, my daughter, Sam, being my daughter, adds another perspective completely, because your dad, that's not the way you thought 20 years ago. So, I mean, that throws that injection of family stuff in there, too. I've got 5 daughters, by the way. I've got 5. I've
got 4 kids. I'm right behind you. Hang on a second. We're gonna take a break real quick, and then we'll continue with Joe Pags. Okay, enough about him. Let's see how his brain filters the headlines of the day. So you're just meeting him for the first time. Let's see how his brain works. I think you're gonna like it. Stick with me. More from Joe Pags, the new night guy on WBAP, coming up in 4 minutes on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
Say he's fine, but I'm just sucked.
Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're just introducing our new nighttime host here on WBAP, Joe Pags. Joe Pags is short for Pagliarulo. How do you say it?
Nailed it. Yeah, Pagliarulo, exactly.
Is that Italian?
It is. Yeah, very.
How far removed are you from Italy?
My grandfather came over, my father's father.
Okay, because like I have a great-great-great-grandfather that came over from Ireland, but that was in like the 1800s, and I've never been there, and I don't feel really connected to it. I mean, not sure if that comes up on your show very often, just being nosy.
It doesn't. I mean, I've been once. I was 15, but my grandfather came in 1928, so a little bit sooner than that. I feel very Italian, although I'm about 54%. I've got Irish, English, and Polish in there, too.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me be nosy. Let's talk about the headlines of the day, because I want my audience to see how you kind of overlap very well with me, but maybe just a little bit different. For one thing, your thoughts on this Gaza takeover. The one complaint is like, well, what do you do about the 1.8 million Gazans who are there while you're rebuilding? And I was just thinking the obvious answer, wouldn't it be Greenland? Isn't that?
I mean, it could be. You never know. I mean, that's in the works, right? The whole Gaza thing is twofold. Number one, he really wants to do it and really wants to rebuild it and develop it. Or two, I think he's saying he's going to do it because he's hoping that Saudi Arabia and some other surrounding countries will step up and say, no, we'll do it. See, the problem is, and James, you know this, the problem is Egypt doesn't want the Gazans. They don't want the Palestinians. Jordan doesn't want the Palestinians, even though the Queen of Jordan is a Palestinian. They don't want them because they're troublemakers. Wherever the Palestinians go, there's going to be death, bloodshed, and mayhem. So what do you do with them? I don't know, because the surrounding areas don't want them. You can't give Gaza back to Israel. That would be all-out war in the Middle East. So a third party coming in and trying to broker a deal, I kind of like it. I'm not sure if we're really going to take it or if he's using this as a leverage play, but it's better than saying, let's just keep on doing what we're doing, I think.
Yeah, well, I didn't have it on my bingo card as the 51st state coming up in 2025. I really feel like this is a bargaining chip too, but, if they call his bluff, let's see what happens. Let's talk about Texas. We have ICE protesters in Texas in all the major cities. The last couple of Sundays, they did another one yesterday in Austin. And I'm looking around and trying to put my finger in the wind, and I think these guys might be hurting their cause, flying Mexican flags and Palestine flags and rainbow flags. I'm not sure if they're helping.
No, well, they're not. And we all see the visual of it. First of all, you're not allowed to protest like they are. Peaceable protest isn't burning flags in the street, blocking people on the highway. That's not a peaceable protest. That's illegal. They can all be rounded up and arrested. But how dumb is it? Let's assume, James, at least some of these people, some of them are here illegally. How dumb is it to wave a foreign country flag in the middle of a road where you might get arrested? Then they can check your status. I hope
obviously they're not living in fear. That breaks the narrative that they're living in fear and they're living in the shadows. Like, no, they're in the middle of the street waving an Ecuadorian flag.
I'm so scared. Look at me in the road with my Peru flag. Come on,
cussing you out in Spanish.
Right.
We have school choice that actually advanced in the Texas House. Two questions. Will it happen? And if it does happen, will it happen the right way? Because if we get the wrong school choice program, that's not going to help much either.
Schools that are failing in many areas. And the argument against school choice has never made sense to me. School choice doesn't help rich people. They're already sending their kids to private school. School choice helps lower income areas. It helps areas where you've got failing schools. Public schools have no competition, so they don't think they have to get any better. This will incite some sort of competition. Public school gets better, and then tax dollars can be diverted to help those areas that are failing. I don't know what the argument is against it, but as I said earlier, there are so many Democrats that have a lot to say in our legislature in Texas that shouldn't. They're outnumbered by Republicans, but you've got some very weak Republicans that are giving into them. There's no reason why it shouldn't get done, and I've never heard a good argument against it.
Well, I like how it's more important to keep poor kids in failing schools in order to prevent otherwise rich people from maybe taking advantage of the voucher system that would help the poor people. It's a weird set of priorities they have there. Let's talk more on the national level. We have Doge exposing USA just throwing money around like making it rain at a strip club. This should be a no-brainer for both sides of the aisle, but there's some people who are not too happy about exposing wasteful spending. Who are these people?
Well, so they're the left, they're the far left, they're the progressive left, they're the globalist left, because you've got $38 billion a year of your money and mine and everybody listening to you right now that's going to some entity that doesn't think it answers to anybody, and they're sending money overseas to help the BBC learn about transgenderism in Libya. I'm not sure I understand. To me, they're doing a Sesame Street show in Iraq for $20 million of your money and mine. And when Marco Rubio comes in as the new Secretary of State and says, hey, can you account for this? They literally looked at him and said, we have no oversight. You're not our boss. We're not listening to you. They kept on cutting checks. So what they did was they locked them all out, 10,000 employees at USAID, until we find out what's going on. I love Doge exposing this because as much as the left is screaming that Elon Musk wasn't elected to anything, nobody at USAID was elected to anything either. The Secretary of State is elected. There are so many appointed positions in government, way more than the elected positions. When you hear Elizabeth Warren yelling and screaming about Elon Musk didn't get elected, you realize how completely complicit she is. She also argued for Big Pharma the other day, too. But when it comes to Doge, this is great because now you and everybody listening and I can find out exactly where our money goes and hold them to account. I love it.
Yeah, and I love the he's not elected line because, excuse me, Anthony Fauci wasn't elected. Also,
Right.
you just ran a candidate who skirted the primary system, and y'all all kicked out the guy that everyone voted for. So I don't want to hear about this election stuff.
Yes.
Joe
Good
Pags, you're our new night host on WBAP. Let me end on a fun note here. The Super Bowl. Who do you think is going to win, and who do you want to win? Because I'm amused by how many people have a different answer to that question.
I'll tell you this. I just found out, I think, yesterday who's in the game. I stopped watching NFL football when Colin Kaepernick was flopping around on the sideline. I used to love it. But I will be watching. I watch one game a year so I can have all my cheese sticks and my tater tots and maybe M&Ms. But I don't know who's going to win. It's the same two teams, right? Philadelphia and Kansas City. I guess Kansas City because I'm an AFC guy. I don't know.
All right. Well, that'll work. Joe Pags, thank you very much. You can find him on WBAP, and now we're going to start leaning on him to come to Dallas and do a public event. So whenever you have a date announced, just let me know.
James, I love the show. I think you're doing a marvelous job. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you very much. There he is, Joe Pags. And when I say he's like one of the top 10 talk show hosts in the country, like we have rankings for that, like the AP USA Today top 25 in college football. I believe he's at number 8 right now. Where are you at, Parker? I'm not on the top 100. I know. I'm working on it. Okay. God, why you got to embarrass me like that? Also, Brian Kilmeade is coming to visit us here in Dallas, February 26th. He's doing another event for our sister station, KLIF. And when he came to town last time, it filled up pretty quick. So we're doing it at a bigger place this time, Community Beer. It's up at like 35 in Commonwealth. CommunityBeer.com. It'll show you exactly where it's at. But if you're a Brian Kilmeade fan, he'll be in town February 26th. You can come see him. He'll do a little show, answer some questions from the audience. We'll share some beers. I'll be there. We'll have a good time. And look for more information at our sister station, KLIF.com. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Carlos. He's a reporter from the Dallas Express. And I was playing you some audio this week of him going down and getting harassed by the protesters here in downtown Dallas. We'll talk to him about the harassment he faced at the immigration protests next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest, Carlos Tocillos from the Dallas Express. But this is sort of a series we have going the last couple of weeks. In the protests that have happened around town, we've had embedded reporters go down there, and they take a little flack from the protesters when they find out that they're not on Team Blue. And it's a pretty compelling stuff, and the reason why I take such a focus on it is, number one, it's local. It's not something you're going to possibly see on Fox News or your cable TV, something to that effect. But also, just contrast this to the way it's reported in other outlets, like the TV stations and the Dallas Morning News and some of the other platforms that I don't want to say you can't be sympathetic to the protesters in any form or fashion, but let's do the old trite thing where we say, okay, if the roles were reversed and these were people in Trump hats talking to reporters like this, wouldn't it be a little more widely condemned? And I know it's almost tired to make that comparison at this point, but it counts. So you're going to hear from Carlos now, but I'm going to talk to Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt coming up in about an hour, and I'll play you some of the man on the street audio he got. But just keep that in the back of your head while we're updating you on these protests that are happening in your backyard. All right, joining us now, Carlos Tocillos from Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com. Carlos, I've been using your work on the James Show. I used the audio you got at last week's protest here in Dallas, and then a little bit of the action you picked up this week. I was kind of surprised at how hostile these people were. I thought they were just here, to help us out and maybe pick our crops or, prepare our food in the back of the house at the local restaurants. But some of these guys were not very happy with your presence there, Carlos.
No, they were not. And, when I went to that event, I was simply just wanting to get answers, and ask questions as to why they were waving the Mexican flag, what they wanted to accomplish with this event. And, they got very hostile. They didn't like the fact that I was simply asking them questions. But, the whole country has been seeing these demonstrations pop up, whether it be in LA or Dallas or Fort Worth, and they're waving the Mexican flag. Many of them were actually insulting America. They were saying how much America's racist, is oppressive against them. But yet they were protesting against mass deportations and saying that they want to stay in America, but yet waving a foreign flag, saying how America is racist, but saying that they're against mass deportations. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think it really just defeats their purpose and what they're trying to accomplish. It's a little bit counterproductive.
Well, one of the reasons I'm surprised is, you're Carlos Tocillos, you're Hispanic, you look Hispanic, and I figured that would give you some sort of, deference with the hostilities from the crowd. That didn't seem to help you out at all.
No, it did not. And, the Latino population, especially in Texas, is very split. A large segment of the Latino vote is actually Republican now. Here in the state of Texas, 55% of Latino voters voted for President Trump. So, funny enough, the people that were, insulting America and trashing America and calling it racist and saying how they're against mass deportations and they want to abolish ICE, those people are now in the minority within the Latino vote. And Democrats have lost a lot of momentum within Latino voters because of the mass migration crisis that we've been seeing in the southern border. And who has been impacted the most? It's been the border counties, and those counties are predominantly Latino. A large segment is leaning towards the right, and it's been changing ever since President Trump took office in 2017, and now that he's back in the White House for 2025 to 2029.
Well, Carlos Tocillos from Dallas Express, one thing I noticed in your reporting in your videos that I didn't see from, the regular newspaper, the legacy media, the TV stations, is how much of it wasn't so much a immigration protest or rally, and it was just a regular old leftist Democrat rally, because I saw like rainbow flags and I saw a lot of other things that had nothing to do with immigration, but were all Team Blue talking points.
Yeah, no. So we saw Palestinian flags. We saw some LGBTQ flags, and it looked like a left-wing rally. And to be frank, this has been going on for quite some time. They've been losing momentum over the past several years. I believe the crowds used to be much more bigger back in the late 2010s, but now it's somewhat been dwindling down, especially in Dallas. They had a couple hundred people, and I believe a couple of years ago they would have thousands of people. The momentum is, going down on their side, and really it's just a left-wing rally. I mean, you have Palestinian
Right.
flags, LGBTQ flags.
And they're
And-
saying F Donald Trump, F Donald Trump, F Donald Trump over and over and over.
So-
You got some of that good audio.
Yeah, and they had some BLM people. We did find some Antifa people that were just wearing masks, and it's just left wing rhetoric. And I believe that it's going to tie down as more deportations continue to happen. And to be frank, I just go back to the same point. If they are against mass deportations and they want to stay in this country, why are they trashing America and waving foreign flags? It just doesn't make any logical sense.
Right. Viva Mexico. Okay, we'll go back to Mexico. No, what are you, a fascist?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll continue with Carlos Tercios from the Dallas Express as he talks about his coverage of the local immigration protest that happened around here in DFW. If you got any comments on that, 800-288-9227. We continue with Carlos in 4 minutes on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We continue with our interview with Carlos Tercios from the Dallas Express. You can find his work at dallasexpress.com and find some of the videos we're talking about here in this interview, too. Another scary part, well, I mean, I've been where you're at. Where you were, there was one scene where you're at Dallas City Hall and some guy got in your face. And when I mean in your face, like his stomach was touching your stomach. His nose was about 2 inches in front of your nose. And he's telling you, you need to get the F out of here or we're going to F you up. You need to get the F on, and making actionable threats in very terse language at very close range. And, you know, there's some safety concerns that come with being the embedded reporter at the protest. What does that feel like to be threatened by a guy who's right in front of you, surrounded by hostility?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I always tell people is, you know, remain calm. You know, people are going to be insulting you. They're going to be saying all types of things and maybe even threatening you. But at the end of the day, what they want you to do is to react. And, you know, I was around with other people, and I know police was right there, so I wasn't really that concerned. But whenever you go to these events, my recommendation is don't go by yourself. Or if you do go by yourself, make sure you're around law enforcement or some type of security person that can be there and that can actually provide any security assistance if it's needed. But always remain calm. I always remain calm. I've been called a lot of things. I've been surrounded by hundreds of people, and it really gets under their skin because they want a reaction, and I just don't give it to them because, you know, if I give them any oxygen, then they ultimately win at the end of the day. And, you know, you remain calm, you remain professional, you simply get the job done, and then you just head out, and, you know, you now have a report to deliver.
Yeah, well, you know, it's easy to say remain calm. I bet you a lot of the people listening would have a hard time with it if there's a guy in your face telling you he's going to F you up if you don't get the F out of here and just screaming in your face. It takes quite a bit of discipline. Carlos, I stopped doing that because I've had enough bullhorns in my face with people calling me Jim Crow and actionable threats that that's not my idea of fun anymore. But Carlos, I mean, why do you do it? Why are you so motivated to go out there and expose these people?
Well, I'm motivated because I care about America. That's one of the things that my parents taught me since I was a young kid, is to respect the land that we live in. I was born in America. I was raised in America, and this is my home. And I don't want people that are going to be disrespecting the flag and disrespecting America. And by the way, you know, people died serving our country, defending our country. And I just find it insulting whenever people, you know, they trash America and they say how oppressive it is and they're waving their foreign flags. They're against mass deportations and ICE. And, you know, they're doing all of this, destruction in our cities, as we saw in 2020. You know, I just can't sit, I just can't sit on the sidelines and allow this to happen. So I just go and report. I go and expose, and, I encourage Americans to do the same thing, hold accountable.
Listen, not to gas you up, but if you didn't go do that, the only view that the people of North Texas would have of these protests is what they see on the television stations or they read about in the Dallas Morning News. So you're doing some great work there. But also, since you get to see this firsthand, they have all these protests in all these different cities on the same day or the same weekend. They're having another big one today for the February 5th, 50-51, 50 states, 50 state capitals on the same day. Speak to the level of organization that you've observed. This doesn't look like just grassroots coincidence that all these people got incensed about deportations and decided to protest. Someone's organizing this.
Yeah, definitely. George Soros is one person that, of course, always comes up. He's the one who was behind a lot of the pro-Hamas Palestinian mass demonstrations across the country. And one of the things that you can easily notice with these demonstrations is the fact that they have the same chants. They're waving the Mexican flags. And they also have people with orange vests patrolling around and monitoring people. And that's one of the things that I saw in Denton, Dallas, and Tarrant County.
Yeah, like handlers.
yeah, handlers, and they were monitoring people. They were telling people who to talk to. You can't talk to this media. You can't talk to the police. That's one of the similarities between all of these events is the fact that they always tell the people, don't talk to the police. I wonder why. Maybe a couple of them are illegal aliens, and they're just afraid that.
Of course they are. Yeah, that's another thing I hate about going to these rallies and trying being the embedded reporter is once you start talking to people, some community organizer, some dude in a vest will come up and say, you can't talk to him, you can't talk to him, and no one will talk to you anymore. Now you're just wasting your time taking threats for no reason. But we really appreciate your work, Carlos Teixeiras. You're going to be on the James Show again. You're hooked now, so keep doing your good work. I'll keep promoting it, and we're just really grateful for you guys at the Dallas Express.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you, James.
Thank you. There you go. Local hero Carlos Teixeiras putting himself on the line to bring you the truth behind all these protests that are happening around North Texas. You find his work, DallasExpress.com. All right, check out this. There's a tour coming to Dos Equis Pavilion July 5th. It's called the Outlaw 2025 Tour. Who's in the Outlaw 2025 Tour? Let's start with number one, Godfather of Texas music, Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan. Yeah, Bob Dylan's on tour again. What year is this? 2025. Opening for them, the Yvette Brothers and some other bands I've never heard of. You can go get tickets and information, livenation.com, but it's one of the contests we have going on right now. Since it's called the Outlaw 2025 Tour, you text the word Outlaw to the same number you call in if you wanted to be on the James Show, 800-288-9227. You text Outlaw to that number, you'll be entered in the contest to win a pair of tickets, and your odds are pretty good. We don't get an overwhelming avalanche of entries into these little texting contests, so might as well try it out. Text the word Outlaw to 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we'll talk to our foreign policy analyst on the James Show, David Hamilton from the America's Future series, about his thoughts on the proposed takeover of Gaza, if that's even a possibility. Is this just a bargaining chip? How could that even work? We'll ask David Hamilton next on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, I missed you. You've been gone so long. It's been like 6 minutes since I've seen you. My next guest, David Hamilton from America's Future Series. He's our foreign policy analyst. And David, let's just jump right into it. This idea that was floated by Trump of, hey, maybe we should just take over Gaza and rebuild it and stuff. I'm interested at the criticism of this, that's saying that, well, this is impossible or it could never happen. Well, it could happen if we really, really wanted it to, but I don't know if we really, really want to, but it's not impossible, is it?
Well, I think I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit until I fully understand what the term take over Gaza means exactly. I think we all agree that it is largely destroyed. It is a hellscape right now, and it does still have remnants of Hamas there and others. And that region, that part, that small part of the area has to be cleansed. The folks that are still perpetrating crimes, they're living in tunnels. There are a lot of mines. There's a lot of IEDs that have to get removed. That's going to take a lot of work. And I think what this really signals is simply a change in attitude or loyalties. We did not support Israel very much after they were brutally attacked on October 7th. There is no way that America is ever going to be friendly. When we say that Israel is our biggest ally, they're our only ally. The vast majority of the Muslim countries there want to see America destroyed. The Abraham Accords was an exception where Trump was able to broker a deal between Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, which was unprecedented. There are a few countries that we can work with, but Israel is our only ally, and this just signals that we're willing to support them in a way that we weren't willing to before.
Do you think, do you foresee some of the other Muslim countries in the area jumping in and saying, no, how about we rebuild it? Because we'd rather us take care of it than see any more infidels on Muslim soil.
Not going to happen at all because they've had an opportunity. Egypt forcefully said no to letting any of the refugees leave through the southern border. They could have helped those people, taken them in. They could have escaped, but they said, we don't want that problem. We don't want that security risk, was the actual quote. And they allowed tens of thousands to die because they were unwilling to let their Arab brothers come into their country. So no one, the Palestinians have always been the redheaded stepchild in the region. No other Muslim country has been willing to accept them. They don't want them.
Do they not like them, or do they just prefer for Israel to have like a Lex Luthor next to them?
Yeah, they view them as potential martyrs. They think, and actually Hamas thinks that way about its own people. They are much more willing to see those people martyred and die for the cause in order to make Israel out to be a monster than to take any of them in. That's alien thinking. You can't think that way. That's not how you or I think. But we just have to recognize that is the way the Muslim world views Palestine.
So you know what I've done before, David Hamilton? You go on Google Maps. I'm doing it right now just to make sure this is still the case and I don't sound stupid. But right across the Egyptian border from the Gaza Strip, there are all kinds of roads and like neighborhoods that are laid out, but all the houses are gone and have been cleared off. Did they used to have some sort of city that Rafah spilled over into and they purposefully cleared it out?
So there are 2 million people living in a very small postage stamp size area. Mm-hmm. And so, that was heavily developed. Now, it wasn't developed during 1948 when Israel was created. But Israel, most of the people, the Palestinians, there were 800,000 pre-1948. That has grown to several million inside Israel and around it, like Gaza, the West Bank. Those people came there because a stable democracy was created and jobs and industry were created. Desalinization was put there. That is a barren, hard scrabble piece of property that none of us want to live in unless it is developed. And they came after Israel was created in 1948, 2/3 of them, really. So that has been largely destroyed, which is really sad. These people need a place to go, and if anyone should take them in, absolutely. The Egyptians and the other countries around that area, the Jordanians, they should be helping those people rebuild, but they have no interest.
Maybe we can keep them in Greenland?
There's plenty of room. They might be a little cold, but there's plenty of room up there. We do need to do something to make that area stable. Those areas were taken after Israel was attacked twice by the majority of Muslim countries in the Middle East, and they have used it as a buffer to protect themselves. Well, they got a little lax, and they let people like Hamas take it over and build up infrastructure and a network of tunnels and use it as a launching base to attack Israel. I don't think they'll ever do that again.
All right, I'm going to switch gears here on you. This is David Hamilton from America's Future Series, our foreign policy analyst. What have we learned about the strange web of connections with Ukraine from the U.S. aid files?
Well, you've had me on, and I've been on some of the other stations around here saying the same thing. There has been a reluctance to talk seriously about a negotiated withdrawal, some sort of peace. You may recall that the war started in large part because Harris and others, Blinken and the Biden administration, were encouraging Ukraine to join NATO, and that was a direct threat to the Russian national security. We walked away from peace talks multiple times leading up to the war. Since that time, there are a lot of people making money and a lot of aid being sent there. We don't know where all it's going, and we can't really track it. So there has been no interest in ending that war prior to this administration. So the one thing I'd love to see happen is a serious deal being made where the Ukrainians are going to have to give up something, which was largely not joining NATO, and Russia has to get out of Ukraine. I think we have a chance to make that happen because we have people who don't care about how much money is being made.
All right, next events you guys have coming up with America's Future Series.
We're at the dual use. We have our dual use technology summit in Austin during South by Southwest at Austin Community College. Joe Lonsdale of Palantir and 8VC is being honored with a AI award. General Murray, who stood up the Army Futures Command, is being honored by Secretary Lord, a former Deputy Secretary of Acquisitions. Great group of people who care about putting capabilities in the hands of the warfighter faster and getting the public and private sectors to work together.
All right. Next event in Dallas, is this the April 22nd event at the Hilton Anatole?
No, the next one that I would like people to focus on is May 8th. It's at Circle T Ranch in partnership with Hillwood, with UNT, with the National Security and Economic Security Center, Strategy Center that's being stood up at UNT. That's on our website now. People can go check it. It's at the beautiful Circle T Ranch. And Ross Perot and a whole host of other folks are going to be there, hopefully along with the Governor Abbott being honored that evening.
All right, fantastic. David Hamilton, America's Future Series. Appreciate your insight on the James Show yet again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yep, find him online, America's Future Series. That guy's name is David Hamilton. Regular listeners, you already know him. If you're new to the show, you'll get to know him. Coming up next, I want to put in my couple of quarters here on this talk about the planes colliding. You know, there were two planes that bumped into each other. They were on the ground in Seattle. No one hurt, no one injured, no one died. But a lot of people are saying it's time to take a serious look at what's going on in air traffic control towers. I'm going to ask you, do you think this is a DEI thing? Because I don't think I do. I think I have a better diagnosis and therefore a different solution. And I'll tell you what that is next. But what do you think's going on with air traffic controls? Do you think this is DEI? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My name is James Parker. Will you be my friend? I need some new friends. Why? Here's a news flash. My friends suck. Do you know that? Let me tell you something. So yesterday, if you were listening to the James Show, I kicked it off with the segment where I was talking about the idea of us taking over Gaza, and I said, you know what they need? They need a Buc-ee's, and they probably need $284 Generals, and then after all the bombs, they're going to probably need an IKEA and a Home Depot. And you and I, we both, I know this is all tongue-in-cheek, and this is a serious situation. You're just having a little fun with it. And then I have like a group chat going on, and a couple of my friends on the break, one of them sent like a meme that showed Buc-ee's in the Gaza Strip, and they're like, we should build a Buc-ee's there, I was like, is she copying my joke from yesterday? Or, oh, no, she doesn't listen to my show. My other friend said, well, they need like a whole bunch of Family Dollars. I was like, you mean $284 Generals? And they're like, oh, God, that's hilarious. You should do this on your show. I'm like, I did it yesterday. Thanks for listening, friends. You would think that if you had a friend that had a talk show in the middle of the afternoon on the biggest talk station in Texas, and you're just a housewife without a job, you might listen, but what do I know? So I need some new friends. Taking applications. You gonna be my friend? All right, so let's look at this air traffic control deal. Because we had yesterday a couple planes bumped into each other, and you may think, well, no one died, no one was hurt, it's not really that big of a deal. Well, it's starting to be a big deal when you have 3 of these incidents in a week, and you usually don't hear about them, but like years and years apart. 3 of them in rapid succession is cause for concern, even if they are minor incidents, and 2 of them were not. 2 of them were planes full of people dying. One of them included the helicopter. And remember, I know it feels like a month ago because of all that's happened in the news, but that helicopter crash into the plane, that was just a week ago yesterday. So in that 7, if you want to stretch it, call it an 8-day span, 3 incidents, let's take an evaluation of what's going on with air traffic control. Now, in today's heated political environment, anything that has to do with questioning the merit of something that's a government agency is necessarily going to, online, looks like the battle scene from Braveheart. This is the comment section under every one of these discussions. I'm going to come out here and try and tell you you're both wrong. Team Red and Team Blue. This is one of the reasons where Team Gold is just distinctly different enough that's the reason why I don't register with either of the major parties is for instances like this. Because one of them has the system set up the way they want. Team Blue. Team Red wants to change it. They want to get rid of the DEI and some of the other things. Team Gold over here says, I don't think the problem's DEI at all. I think the problem is that our air traffic controls are government agencies, and that the solution there isn't to get rid of DEI specifically, it's to privatize the air traffic control system. Now, for some reason, that sounds like a fringy libertarian pipe dream. But when you look at the across the globe here, for the air traffic control systems, 62 of them worldwide are privatized. They have a situation that's similar to the Canadian system. The Canadians have a better air traffic control system than we do. The Canadians have a privatized nonprofit that runs, and it goes on user fees and not through tax dollars. They have wide latitude to make changes however they see fit. They're not reliant on their Congress, or I guess Parliament, for their funding, which means like here, if we have a government shutdown or if we have some other interruption to government services, that kind of rocks our air traffic control system. But really, it's you have the DMV up there controlling our planes. I don't know what the DMV looks like now, but I remember the last time I actually got to go into a DMV and look at the computer. It was like 2013 or something. I reached my head over and I looked at the screen, and they were running a DOS program. I kid you not. It was all text with the big blinky rectangle for your cursor. And it had like some crudely drawn lines, and it was monochromatic, means it was black in the background and just green, one color text. That's what they were running in 2013. I don't know if they're probably run off a Speak and Spell now. But when you see that several providers serve more than one country, 83 countries get their air traffic control from privatized towers. And so when you say, well, I don't know what would that even look like, that would work. Let's just do what Canada does. They don't have the scale that we do. They take about 1/9 of the traffic that we do. But in that, even without their economies of scale, we should have the advantage on being able to do it cheaper per flight. Their costs per flight, 1/3 lower than ours. So what do we do about it? Privatize it. That's all. Let it work itself out. Maybe we have a couple of different corporations that privatize different parts of the air traffic control, and we have them compete and see which one's best. It'll be like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile. And yeah, let's not focus on the DEI. If you get the DEI thrown out and it still remains a government program, you're not going to get the efficiencies and improvements you're looking for. You're not going to let it reach its full potential. So when we merge with Canada, let's just go ahead and take their air traffic control system. I know. I see it over there. I know. Canadians love it when I say that, don't you? I know. Air traffic control them birds for you. Am I crazy? Should we do what Canada does and privatize our air traffic control system? I think this is a no-brainer. I think it's the same thing with the TSA. Let's do that next. The TSA didn't exist until after 9/11. Since then, they've caught exactly 0 terrorists, the exact charge, which was the reason for their invention. And I think we can just let the airports handle their own security. Let the airlines handle their own security. They have a little bit on the line too. They don't want their planes to crash. They don't want their pilots to die. That's not a profitable endeavor for them. So let's keep our eye on the prize here. The point is to minimize government as much as possible. Getting rid of DEI is not going to do that. Privatize will do that. Coming up next, we're going to talk to the patent professor. There's a weird case involving the Proud Boys and a trademark to a black church, and we'll ask him about it for details. It sounds weird. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll try to get to the bottom of it next on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. We just have a few days left for the big game, so you can go ahead and make your lineup now and take the free square. I mean, it's not a free square. I guess technically speaking, mathematically speaking, it's not a free square. There is a chance that Patrick Mahomes could throw for 0 yards, or I guess technically negative yardage. If you play enough Madden, that'll happen. But they have the promotional pick. The one square for Patrick Mahomes for the big game is 0.5 passing yards. Just pick more on that. And if he throws for 1 or more yards, if he throws for 400 yards, you get that one square. And then your lineup is 2 to 6 players. So all you have to do is be correct on one other prediction. And you can win some real money from my friends at Prize Picks. Look at the line on Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts or Travis Kelce or Xavier Worthy. And then as soon as the big game's done, it's all about basketball. It's all about hockey. There's still plenty more to go. And we are almost to spring training for you baseball fans. So the fun never ends with Prize Picks. Download it. Use promo code WBAP. Get $50 with your first $5 play. What's that? You're going to give me $50? Yes. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP with your first $5 play. You'll get $50 in promo cash to have a little extra fun with the big game coming up this Sunday. Prize Picks. Run your game. Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, I'm looking for friends even harder now. I just ranted about him in the last segment. The update I have for you is fine, I'll listen. Send me a link. Send you a link? Been in radio for 20 years. You don't know how to listen to my show? You're my friend. Okay. Forget it. I bet you the patent professor's probably a better friend. John Risby, welcome back to the James Show.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not having a very pleasurable day today, but this story kind of cracks me up. All right, let me see if I have this correct, because I find this, I feel like I'm missing something here, but maybe I'm not. John Risby, the Proud Boys, some of them were at January 6th, and they hopped the fence of a church nearby the Capitol, and they destroyed a Black Lives Matter sign, and then they hopped back over the fence, and they continued on about their merry way. They were charged with crimes, and then there was a civil suit where they were supposed to pay like $4 million or whatever, some impossible number, in damages and restitution, or sounds punitive to me, to the church. They never paid it, and so the church said, in lieu of them, compensating you with cash, you now can control the copyright to their logo. Do I have this correct?
Yeah, actually, the trademark to their logo, but it is a bizarre set of facts, because typically trademark rights can be lost, and there's a lot of reasons why you can lose a trademark, but it's rare that a court will take a trademark from one party that rightfully owns the mark and actually transfer it to somebody else. And that's exactly what this opinion did. It transferred the trademark to the Proud Boys from them owning it to the black church that they vandalized. So it was transferred to the AME Church in Washington, D.C. So now the AME Church in Washington, D.C. owns the Proud Boys trademark.
So are they expected to monetize that to get the $4 million that they're owed? Are they going to start selling Proud Boys T-shirts and stuff?
So that's what makes this case so strange. Trademarks are an asset, right? They're an asset of any business, no different than a vehicle or a car. However, when you sell your car to somebody, the buyer has no duty to drive it. They don't lose the car if they're not driving it. There's no duty to use it. What makes this such an unusual case is not only did the trademark get transferred to this church, but if the church doesn't do anything with using the Proud Boys name, if they don't sell merchandise or conduct commerce using the name of who they alleged vandalized, who vandalized them, so they're almost forced, in order to keep their trademark, they have to use the name the Proud Boys, and that's just a bizarre set of facts that trademark attorneys like myself, and we're trying to get our mind around. Like, how is it possible that you can forcefully transfer the trademark rights from one party to another? And that's fine; it's an asset. And normally, the asset has, but trademark law is different. You have to use it or lose it. So now there's a duty on this church to actually use the name of the group that vandalized them, which is not what they wanted. They wanted
this sounds wild. All right, John, is there a precedence for this? Do we have a case law precedence for this?
Well, there's plenty of case law precedents for trademarks being assets that are transferred, no different than any other asset. But there's I've not been able to find any precedent for transfer in a situation such as this, where you're actually obtaining the right to use the name of the party that aggrieved you. I mean, so you could, it's crazy.
So how long if they're dormant on it, can the Proud Boys get it back?
Yeah, so there's an assumption of 3 years. So and it's not that the Proud Boys would get it back. It would just become an abandoned trademark, and it's open for anybody to register and use. And supposedly the Proud Boys could file and have superior rights to it, but that would be for non-use for 3 years. And the trademark could be considered abandoned by this black church, by the AME Church, if they don't use it. So in the meantime, they have to like, I don't understand. Like, sell merchandise that has Proud Boys trademark on it, so they're promoting the group.
They
that
could say like,
have-
"I hate the Proud Boys," and maybe try and sell that shirt. But who the heck would buy? All they have to do is use it, like list it. They don't even have to sell any shirts, do they?
Well, trademark rights are for use in commerce, so they have to use it they have to conduct business using it.
Okay,
They can't use it
next
for
question.
safety.
Can't the Proud Boys just come up with another logo and abandon this one?
They can. But they cannot use the Proud Boys because they no longer own rights to it.
Oh, they can't even use that term.
They can't use that term to sell merchandise.
Okay.
Because trademarks are all about commerce. They can,
This seems
I mean,
like
I don't know.
this seems like a pretty hefty punishment for busting up one sign.
It's a judgment. You said $4 million. Maybe that's with interest, and who knows what else is $2.8 million. But either way, it's a significant judgment. I don't know. I haven't looked into whether a portion of it is punitive, because certainly the damages.
It would have to be. That's not it's not a $2 million sign. All right. Well, thanks for spelling some of this out, John Rizvi. I was super confused about that, and I'm only less confused now. All right.
Well, you're in good company. Plenty of intellectual property attorneys are looking at this case, trying to figure out what it means for future cases.
It is funny though. Where do they find your work outside of WBAP, John?
Yeah, so our trademark is The Patent Professor. So you type that in. That's our domain name online, anywhere on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. The Patent Professor is our handle.
Good deal. All right. Well, John Rizvi, don't go busting up signs so you can keep that trademark. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on the James Show, here in about 20 minutes, I'm going to have an interview with Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt, and he's going to talk about his experience with the immigration protests across Texas. But next, I'm going to play you two of the audio clips that he got or three actually, that he got from last week. And, I was playing you some of the guys that are hateful, F Trump, and, have to bleep them a lot. I'm going to play you some guys that I'm not even sure if they knew why they were there. That's coming up next on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to jump in the conversation, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. We had just talked to the patent professor about the weird Proud Boys case. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Tony Ortiz from Dallas Express. Current Revolt. He was down getting audio of some of the protests, the immigration protests on Sunday, and then again yesterday. So we'll talk to him, get an update from a guy who was on the ground there. But right now, let's go to the phones. Robin in Corinth, you're on WBAP. What do you think, Robin?
Hi, James. I have yet to purchase a T-shirt to support any cause throughout all of what has been going on for years in America. And this has moved me, and I thought that church should take the Proud Boys trademark, turn it upside down, kind of how Oklahoma does with the UT hand sign, turn it upside down, and then put a black fist on top of it to where the trademark is upside down below the fist. I'd buy that T-shirt.
Well, that was something I threw out there. If you don't like the Proud Boys and you now have access to their trademark, you could make anti-Proud Boys merch with using their actual logo.
Yeah.
And what a rare opportunity that is to have the trademark on your political opponents or whoever vandalized you.
Yeah. Turn it upside down.
See,
I love it.
I like how we can put politics aside and think like a pure just capitalist pig for a second. I'm the same way. Yeah, we can score some money off that. That's a good field goal. Give her 3 points, Garrett. I'm glad you asked. Robin, we just got you 3 points on the board.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Love your show.
Do you even know about the Proud Boys? Like, do you know what they stand for or who they are or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
What's your impression of them? Like, what do you think they stand for?
The militant nature of the group is very off-putting. I'm not in favor of them personally. They don't sit well in my core.
I mean, like, what beliefs do they have that you agree or disagree with?
Well, the anti black, not being so militantly against anything that is not, white, and I don't favor that.
I think you might have a misconception. So there's a lot of people who say like they're racist or white supremacists. They're not. Their leader's Enrique Tarrio. He probably wouldn't be welcome in most like white supremacist circles. I have some like policy disagreements with them, but I found a lot of people who dislike them for things that just aren't true. And I'm not saying that, Robin, you've been misinformed, but to go ahead and do a deep dive in them. You probably still won't like them, but at least you'll know why you really don't like them instead of someone else told you that they're racist and they're not. Like a lot of the stuff that they have politically in their platform, I agree with. They're generally capitalist. They're generally nationalist, like pro-American. They like to.
And I like that about them.
Right.
I like that about them. That's what makes me so conflicted over this whole situation.
Well, I'm not conflicted if they went and busted up a sign. That they're jerks. They deserve to be punished. I think the punishment might be a little extreme, but don't really care too bad about that. They just have some weird beliefs. Like they're not into. What do you call it? Like what was Pee Wee Herman doing in that theater when he got in trouble? Yeah. They're against that, and it's like I don't want my political organization to even have an opinion either way on what I do.
Where our politics should belong,
right? On what I do with myself or what Robin does with herself or whatever. It's just like I don't have any sexual planks in my political platform. That's. Y'all are weird. And by the way, I'm not signing on to that either. There's no way I could live up to your standards at this point. All right, coming up next on the James Show, you're going to hear from this guy. His name's Tony Ortiz. Let me give you some of the protesters he was talking to. He had an interesting bunch out there.
Tony Ortiz here. I'm Current Revolt. I'm here with Robert. Robert, how's it going today?
Doing great.
Robert, what are you out here doing today?
Protesting Donald Trump.
You're protesting Donald Trump. Gotcha. Okay. And what specifically?
For the ICE. ICE had two meetings. Not only for the dudes being immigration, also being intercontinental criminal enforcement. Donald Trump is trying to get all people who have been convicted of a felony crime since 2001 put back in prison. Even the January 6th rioters that he pardoned. He's going to get them put back into prison for life.
Got it. Okay. Now, with regards to immigration, do you think deportation is an appropriate response for anything
No.
in any situation?
America needs the illegal immigrants here. Illegal immigrants what built America.
Okay, gotcha. And then what about illegals or immigrants that commit crimes? Should they be deported back to their country?
Well, everybody commits crimes. It doesn't matter who the fuck up.
Gotcha. What about more extreme crimes? Let's say like murder, for example. Do you think somebody's over here illegally?
It doesn't matter if it's the illegal immigrant or it's the white person or it's the black person. Everybody commits murder.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, if an illegal immigrant commits a murder, should they be deported back to their home country?
I wouldn't know. I'm not.
You don't have an opinion on that?
No opinion on that. I mean,
what about like rape or something like that? If a legal immigrant commits rape, should they go back to their home country?
Well, if it's something serious like that, yeah.
Okay. Do you normally vote?
No, I'm an independent.
All right. You'll hear from the guy that was holding the mic there next, Tony Ortiz from currentrevolt.com when the James Show continues. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest, returning to the James Show from his website, currentrevolt.com, Tony Ortiz is back on. A round of applause for Tony, who risked life and limb to go out to the protests here in Texas and get some audio for you. I played one of the guys you talked to in the last segment. And Tony, one of the patterns I noticed from people you talked to is I think most of them didn't really know why they were there. Was that your experience, Tony?
Yeah, and I think that's the experience for many people that run across these protesters or these people that are, anti-deportation of illegal criminals, right, is that they don't really know what they're talking about. Many aren't aware or didn't know or refuse to address the fact that Obama, Biden, and many other presidents also, deported illegal immigrants. They also deported criminal illegal immigrants. And a lot of these are out here because it's something fun to do. It's something to virtue signal that they're a good lefty advocate, right? But they couldn't speak to what they were about when it came to illegal immigration.
Right. In the previous segment, I had played the guy. The first thing you asked him is, why are you here? And he said, I'm here to protest Trump. So he's just a Democrat for a hobby, I guess. And whatever the protest is, give me a sign. I'll go out there. I'll protest. And, that just speaks to the level of organization they have. They have people that they can call on and they'll show up in the street without even really knowing what the heck it's for.
Yeah, and further questioning somebody like him, I asked these to all the protesters I interviewed. I said, well, do you think that in any circumstance should an illegal immigrant be deported? And they always led with no. And then when you drill down further, you said, well, what if they commit a serious crime? And I said, well, what if they commit murder or in some cases, sexual assault? And they would all lock up and they would freeze up for a second. And they would say, well, maybe it's okay under that circumstance.
But Tony, it feels like I saw you do that with 3 different people over here on currentrevolt.com. And it felt like this is the first time they've ever been asked that question or they've ever even considered it.
Yeah, and it's the right's also guilty of this, but the left especially, where they live in these bubbles of thought, where the only people they interact with, the only people they work for, they communicate with, they do business with, are people that are like-minded, that are just leftists like themselves. So when somebody comes up to them and asks them a question that they normally don't get questioned with, you can see their mind kind of break. They kind of shut down, right?
So I talked to a couple other people that were at protests over the last week or so. And they've had to experience quite a bit of hostility. I didn't see that in your videos, but did you have people making threats or getting in your face and telling them you need to get the bleep out of here, we're going to bleep you up, or anything like that?
Well, no, and I kind of blend in. I happen to be brown, so I do have a melanin, and so I do look like a Hispanic. I am Hispanic, so I think I do think that they just kind of, that when I interviewed them, they kind of just their guard's a little bit more down because I think they assume that I'm I guess quote unquote on their side. And so when I start asking them questions that are maybe a little bit out of the park, they get really shocked. And so no, I didn't actually face any or anything like that. The only thing I saw as far as danger was these burnouts that these protesters were doing with their cars in the middle of the street, just yards away from Dallas police letting them get away with it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that from you. They were doing the burnouts on Main Street over there, like Main and Lamar, kind of.
Yeah, they had shut down the entire street, and which is insane, in the middle of the day.
Well,
right?
You can get a permit for that. Did they get a permit to block a street?
Not as I'm aware, and it may be possible, but not as I'm aware. And additionally, I don't think that just because you get a permit to lock down a street allows you to do massive burnouts.
No, you don't get the burnouts. That's just extra fun there.
I think that's a privilege that these protesters get, and they get police protection for it, for sure. They got a police escort.
Well, Current Revolt is all over Dallas lately. You're Texas #1 political tabloid. Isn't that how we're styling it, Tony?
That is. That's us.
Well, Jasmine Crockett is the representative for where I'm sitting right now. Like our studios here for WBAP. We're in Jasmine's district, and she's been giving us a lot of sound bites lately. And y'all had a nice little breakdown that y'all just put up this morning from TexRex on currentrevolt.com. She's giving y'all a lot of good content.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy, Steve Brown, a friend of mine, and we were kind of chatting about Crockett. And she went on CNN and she went off about how white supremacists were, I think, something like 88%.
80% of
crime.
the most.
Cool.
Do you know what she's quoting? You know where that's coming from? That's from
I have no idea.
Anti-Defamation League did a report that 80% of extremist crime came from white supremacists. Now, if you look at their definition, that means out of the last year they had this broken down, 2022, there were only 25 murders that matched their definition of an extremist crime. And they counted both the Colorado Springs shooter and the Buffalo shooter, both of which are lefties by political spectrum. They put them as far right wingers.
Well? Yeah, weren't they trans as well or something like that?
The Colorado Springs was a trans. He was a non-binary and wanted to use they them pronouns in court and be referred to as Mix Aldrich, not Mr. or Mrs.
Now that Trump's in office, none of that exists anymore. We have two genders now. We don't have 30 anymore, right? So none of that exists. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the ADL would highlight a statistic that only highlights 22% or 22 murders.
25 out of the almost 10,000 that we had that year.
Right. So they're definitely cherry picking, but it doesn't surprise me coming from an organization like the ADL.
Right, but she didn't just pull that out of nowhere. You have to go look for that one stat. And so if you want to go debunk her, you got to go debunk that ADL thing, not just general crime statistics in particular. But it's interesting to see how much racial animus she can throw around on all these public platforms without being checked on it.
Yeah, and I don't see her losing office anytime soon. I was looking at her numbers from previous elections, and Republicans have taken a swing at her several times, and she just destroys them. So we have many, many, many more years of Congresswoman Crockett.
Well, and some part of me appreciates that because I got to put together 3 hours of radio every day, and she gives me a lot of content. Tony Ortiz,
I feel the same way.
What's next on CurrentRevolt.com?
We've got some stuff we're working on. We've got a semi-big story on a very well-known political consultant that got into a tussle, allegedly, with a patron in Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, I like tussles.
And allegedly, according to a police report that I got a copy of, threatened a police officer to stab him with a pen. This is all alleged, of course, but he's a major political consultant in the state of Texas, so that'll be out tomorrow.
Oh, I love these little tabloid stories. That's fun stuff. Tony Ortiz, CurrentRevolt.com. Are you going to any protests this weekend, or are they taking the weekend off?
No, taking the weekend up. Actually, I'm on my way to D.C. to do the Timcast IRL show. So if you're I'll be on there tonight.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow night.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, tell them to have old Parker on. I can use the publicity. Thank you, sir.
I will.
All right. Tony Ortiz, CurrentRevolt.com. It's one of the websites in the rotation that I use. I get some of my good content on the James Show from these guys. You might want to check them out. Coming up next, I'm going to play you 2 more people that he talked to. The guy you just heard, Tony Ortiz, 2 more interviews with protesters. That happened just around the corner from where I'm standing right now, or sitting right now in downtown Dallas. That's coming up in 4 minutes on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You know, I want to play you a couple of interviews Tony Ortiz did with two protesters that were in downtown Dallas, and I want you to keep in the back of your mind sort of the context of what you learned this week about U.S. aid. If you haven't been listening to every second of the James Show, first off, shame on you, but I can get you all caught up real quick. So Doge goes in to the Treasury Department, starts looking around at different programs and where all the money's going, and, you know, as is their charge. So USA is this one agency where the funding mechanisms seem to always be approved, and when you go look down at the spreadsheet, some of this doesn't make sense. This is where you're getting like they're supporting like children's books in Ecuador and things like that, and drag shows in some other country. And whether or not you agree with that, is that really something that we need to be spending our taxpayer dollars on? You know, a lot of people are kind of up in arms about that. But even further down the layers of the wedding cake, you start to see payments going to groups who then make other payments to other groups and other payments to other groups. And when you follow the web around, it turns out like about $8 million worth of subscriptions to Politico are coming from your taxpayer dollars, ultimately sourced by your taxpayer dollars. Now, it would be obvious grift, obvious propaganda, obvious violation of free speech, and obviously unconstitutional if they took your money and gave it straight to Politico. Hey, here's some money just straight off the top. But if they have to buy subscriptions, that's a way to get money to Politico for something that doesn't cost them anything. They're an online entity. It's not like they even have to go to the factory and make more widgets to accommodate it. So they say, well, we're going to buy a subscription for everyone in this office, or for everyone in this agency, or everyone that's our clients, or everyone in this. And after all the different webs were added up, more than $8 million of your dollars have gone to Politico. Now, this is posing as a news organization that gets everything wrong. They were wrong about the Hunter Biden laptop. They were wrong about the lab leak. They were wrong about masks. They were wrong about everything all the other outlets were wrong about. But you've been subsidizing them. And so there's some serious concern here about how much of the left, air quotes, left, is just smoke and mirrors. Because I've always had the belief there's about 20% of our population that truly believes what Team Blue's platform believes. There's another 20% of America that just goes along because they're swept up in it, because they see that's what their favorite celebrity thinks, or favorite actor, or favorite musician, or their professors in college, or their political higher ups, you know, their senators, their congressmen, all the people in the news and in the media and on The View and every step in between, every other music format in radio and talk format except for this one says that they just get swept up in it. And if that's the case, that really explains why so many of the people that Tony Ortiz at Current Revolt talked to at these protests, and you've seen this at other protests too, didn't really know why they were there.
Few things. Well, it is America. We got.
Wait, wrong one. We're doing Raphael last. Let's do Adam.
Tony Ortiz here with Current Revolt. I am here with Andrew at the Dallas ICE protest. Andrew, what brought you here today?
I just saw a lot of people coming, and I was just wondering if I was able to come, and I just ended up coming.
What's the biggest issue? You know, obviously we're here for immigration. What's your personal stances on it, and where are you at right now?
It could cause a lot of family breaking ups. I was watching the Mexico news. They're also saying that we're going to start deporting Americans. So families that have immigrants and kids that are U.S. citizens here is going to cause a problem between them, and it's going to just might just spark out all right war.
All right, what you're seeing here is a guy who's not spewing talking points. He's not reading from the script. This is an honest guy. This is a guy who's really telling you the truth on why he's here. And why is he there? Not because he feels strongly about the deportation efforts of Donald Trump. It's because, hey, he has a bunch of friends who are going, and they had a bunch of flyers, and they had a bunch of signs made up, and the people on the news were kind of talking about it. And so he just kind of thinks that this is what everyone else around him is doing. And so this is what I'm going to do. Like, if everyone else around you is like, hey, we're going to go get a steak. You want to go? And you're like, yeah, you're not going to fight them. You're not going to say, wait a second, I want a quesadilla. No, you just go with all your friends. You know, why cause any trouble? Everyone around you is doing it. The people on TV tell you this is the right thing to do. But you can tell that he hasn't really put a lot of, brain power into it. He's a busy man. He's probably got a job, probably got hobbies, probably has a family to deal with. But this is the pattern that you see for a lot of these people. They're just going out there because it's what they do. It's kind of fun. They're not really even that political of a person, which is a good thing because someone like this Andrew guy, this is a guy that in probably 10, 15 years is when he starts paying attention, could come around and start voting the other direction. But this is sort of the default setting for the low information citizen out there when you control the media, when you control movies and music and TV stations and academia and all this other stuff. You just get people who just get swept up in it. Anyway, we continue with Andrew.
I mean, it all started because of Trump. He wanted to start deporting Mexicans, so the president of Mexico was like, okay, we're going to do the exact same thing. If that makes any sense.
Now, Biden and Obama, who were Democrats, had also deported quite a lot of illegal immigrants to their countries. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't really know about that. It's just Trump wants to get rid of everybody, and what I'm thinking is that Biden was deporting like the criminals and everything like that.
Got it. So you're 18 now.
Yes.
And you plan on voting in the next election?
Yes.
All right, so that's good stuff from Tony Ortiz. That makes me optimistic. That's a guy that can be won over. He hasn't really put a whole lot of thought into this. He's not really calcified in his positions. He's not a deep fence post. He's just holding the sign because everyone around him seemed like the cool thing to do. Are you in credit card debt? Don't feel bad. I'm doing pretty bad too. My next guest will help us with that. Her name's Janice Spooner. She's an expert on lending and credit, and she's going to give you tips on how to pay off some of that credit card debt next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Americans are carrying a record amount of credit card debt. It's well north of $1 trillion right now. A big chunk of that's me. Some of it might be you. However, if you're one of the few people listening to the James Show right now that is in no credit card debt, keep your mouth shut. We don't want to hear from you. Isn't your life just perfect? For the rest of us, though, we gotta fight our way out of this hole. Janice Spooner's going to help us out with that. She's an expert on credit and lending. Welcome back to the James Show, Janice. And where do you start with someone like me? I'll just bleed in front of everybody. I have about $20,000 on credit cards right now. Give me some advice.
First step is you have to identify what those rates are on those cards, see how significant they are, and come to the realization that you have to take a step now to create a difference for your future.
Right. Some of this is expenses that popped up and we didn't have like an emergency fund. Like we had an emergency fund for a while, but we blew through that. And so we had a kid with some medical bills. We had me with some dental bills, and we just had to put it on a credit card. I don't know if we could have even avoided it.
You're in what I would call a normal range of credit card usage because of you went through your emergency fund, and people live on credit cards. A lot of people do. But there's a clear difference between letting those balances continue to add up by only paying the minimum payment due versus using credit cards and paying those off monthly. Two different products, two different plans, but the first one of relying on your credit card and letting those build can be catastrophic if let loose for too long.
Yeah, well, under normal circumstances, we've stopped the bleeding. We live below our means, and we're slowly paying it off right now. But like I said, like right now, while we're in the payoff mode, if another emergency pops up, we're going to have to put it on the credit card. We're not keeping an emergency fund. We're trying to pay this guy off. So it really feels like another emergency pops up can just put us deeper in the hole.
I would take your credit card, see what those rates are, and see if you can't find a lower interest rate and do one method. It's called the balance transfer of cards. See if you can find a lower introductory period for 9-12 months. Swing that over on your high interest rate to that lower number, and then start building up an emergency savings. Because with credit card interest rates being between 25 and 30%, you're not going to get out of that without significant stress and strain, and dedication to get out of that high of an interest rate.
Janice Spooner, do you have a strong opinion on some of these services that'll help you get out of debt? I think of one that used to be recommended on this financial show called Zilch Works, and you put in all your debts, not just your credit card, but your car note and your mortgage, and it'll line them up and have you make the payments in the way that would get it paid off the fastest. Do you recommend those to people who are asking you about it?
I personally take the time to go with them and walk through what their credit looks like on loans, on credit cards, and see if there's a way that we can create maybe an avalanche method to debt consolidation to debt snowball method. And the snowball is focusing on the smallest balance first while making the minimum payments on other cards. This can build momentum and build, relief mentally. But I really tell people that they need to it's real simple. Take the first step and look at your budget.
So debt snowball is a term I heard a lot from Dave Ramsey. Is that what we're talking about, that method?
Yeah, where you're really focusing on the smallest balance first while paying the minimum on other cards. The avalanche method is paying off the card with the highest interest rate first to save on interest. Mm-hmm. And you can work and look at all the ones that you have. Depending on your credit score, there's still some options out there for a transfer, but you have to stay on top of that because when those introductory rates end, you could be back in the same boat. So it takes constant review and analyzing it. But back to your question on where do I refer, there's the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. It is the oldest and most recognized nonprofit credit counseling network in the U.S. And it's free or low-cost credit counseling, debt management plans. And so it's real people helping with real solutions.
Janice Spooner, how much credit card debt do you have right now?
I actually only have about $2,000.
Oh, my
because
goodness. What a dream.
I pay off every month what I put on there, and it helps your credit score be high, and it saves you on other costs that do check your credit score, like mortgage.
I would like to point out that I never ran up giant credit card balances till after I had 4 kids. So that's my excuse. Thank you very much, Janice. How do they find your work outside of WBAP?
Absolutely. Great Plains Bank Southlake is where I'm at www.greatplainsbanktx.com. Janice Spooner, 817-912-3444.
There you go. Thank you, Janice Spooner. Great Plains Bank, Southlake. Oh, I only have one segment left. All right. Coming up next, there's a couple of fun sound bites that we're going to make fun of, and I got to answer a couple emails on the James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We have a couple of events coming up toward the end of the month. For one, our sister station, KLIF, has Brian Kilmeade making another visit. He got added to the station last year, did an event where he showed up, and you know who? Wasn't Daryl Johnston there? The cowboy, wasn't Moose there? And is that what I'm thinking of, or was that another event? Where you didn't go, did you, Garrett? I think it was Daryl Johnston there. And that was really cool. And Brian Kilmeade coming back. We really packed out the place that we were at in Irving last time. So we're going to go to Community Beer this time. CommunityBeer.com if you want to look at their website. Much bigger place. But you know what? If y'all are going to show up that big and bring a big crowd for him, we'll find a bigger place this time. He's going to be there February 26th. So stick around. I'll give you a couple of reminders, obviously, on the James Show before we get up to that, because it's not just a chance for you to meet Brian Kilmeade. It's also for you a chance to meet me. And I'm going to try. Garrett, are you going to go to this one, or you have a life, like a social life and everything? Oh, don't say, of course you'll go. You didn't go to the last one, so we can't make that assumption. And then the next day, this isn't a station event or an event for our sister station or anything associated to do with my work, but for a guest I had on yesterday, Sarah Gonzalez. She's with the Blaze now and also Texas Scorecard. She's going to be co-hosting an event with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. I know you know that name. And he's the president of the Dallas County chapter of the GOP right now. But they're having an event where you can meet your candidates. So for some local elections that are coming up, just really months away, it's something that they don't get a lot of media attention for. And so if you want to go meet these guys and shake their hand and look them in the eye and ask them some questions, they're having an event just for that. So the Dallas County Republicans are inviting you out for that. That's going to happen. I don't know what place in there, but it's at that shopping center. It's like 5100 Beltline, but Beltline and the Tollway, like where the Sherlocks used to be. I used to work there. I used to live in those apartments behind there. But like that little thing that's boxed in by Montfort Beltline and the Tollway that has a whole bunch of restaurants and whatnot in it. There's like a Pluckers in there and I don't know, something else, Whole Foods or something. Anyway, that's where it's going to be. And don't worry, I'll give you some updates before that. And in fact, I bet you we have Alan West on and maybe even Sarah Gonzalez on before that to sort of promote it. So we're going to be out and about a couple more times this month. Just give us a couple weeks and come out and say hi. I love meeting you people. All right, one of the sound bites barrages here I can squeeze in before the end of the show. Carolyn Levitt, the White House spokeswoman, doing her press conference yesterday, was asked about Doge and USAID and how much of this money is going to Politico. And for a lot of people, this was something that was suspected. Now it's just confirmed, and it really has some big implications.
Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
Oh, I love hearing this. Get them. Get them. You mean they're taking taxpayer dollars from you, giving it to outlets who oppose you to spread messages to thwart you and to cancel out your vote? Politico, did y'all get the Hunter Biden laptop story right or wrong? Did y'all get the Inflation Reduction Act predictions right or wrong? Did y'all get any of these other? What did y'all say about Jussie Smollett? How dedicated are you guys to Team Blue? And go ahead and make the connection here. The other big media headline right now is 60 Minutes. CBS was leaned on to release the unedited transcript and video from the Kamala Harris interview, and it's just what you thought. They totally re-edited it to make it sound like it wasn't as bad as it was. That's fraud. That's absolute fraud. You cannot call yourself a news outlet and then deliberately present something that wasn't true as something that is true without telling it, oh, this was selectively edited or whatnot. That's fraud. So what happens when you have all these outlets? I don't know if CBS was getting news or whatever, but they're definitely dedicated to Team Blue. You have these other upstart outlets, Politico. They didn't even exist 20 years ago. Now they're huge. Why? Well, 8 million of your tax dollars went to them. And there's an interesting case for all these outlets that get your money. They all sing the song of big government, right? They're all singing the same tune. We need to grow government. We definitely don't need to cut it. We need to vote for Team Blue, or at least the people on Team Red who are okay with growing government. And it's not an accident. You know the old he who pays the piper calls the tune, right? Well, if big government is paying you, you're going to sing the praises of big government. But so much of this media that's on board, naturally, the ones that are paid off, they're all singing the same tune. Yet you saw through all of that. You saw through the paid off people, whether it's in the celebrity realm or Hollywood or music or Politico, and you still saw through it all and you voted for Team Red. You didn't buy into the lies. The propaganda, they've spent hundreds of billions of dollars to propagandize you, and it didn't work. Give yourself a round of applause. All right, here, I'll give you a round of applause. It's just been a big old machine to try and make the low information voter think that this is what everyone else agrees with. You should vote with us. Turns out that they're a pretty minuscule minority out there. You're a lot stronger than you thought. Thanks for hanging out with the James Show today. Stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, find the podcast wherever you're already listening to podcasts. It doesn't have to be the WBAP app. I mean, I prefer, but if you go to other apps that you already listen to podcasts, type in the James Show. Like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Learn it, love it, live it. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.